Warning, this video contains some discussion of homophobia. There'll be a whole entire section of it in this timestamp. I'll make a second warning when it comes up again, so this is just a heads up for now. Hi everyone! And I forgot that June is Pride Month! So, welcome to our deep dive into LGBT representation in object shows! We'll explore how these shows portray LGBT characters in stories, both good and bad, and their impact on audiences. There's been progress, but no media is immune to criticism, so I'll share my thoughts on a few. Feel free to share your opinions in the comments, respectfully, please. If there's an object show with LGBT rep that I missed, let me know. It's also important to remember that this kind of rep matters, cause it lets queer people know that they're valid, and lets others be more accepting of them. Without further ado, let's begin! In 2020, Jack and Jellify, not entirely sure yet, posted two pictures for Trans Visibility Day and Pride Month featuring the same characters. This happened again in 2021 and 2024 with the addition of the three canon non-binary characters, Price Tag, Winner, and Profile. Using the same characters in every LGBT post implies that they're all on the queer spectrum. This includes the Algebraians, who don't have a concept of gender and use various pronouns.
Or in this case, her gender!
We don't have that where I'm from.
This reeks! What's up with him?
He's being a baby.
Genius? No. But does she possess average human intelligence?
YOLO!
Maybe not. Whatever. Their coolness is quadruple anyone else in Yoyle.
For example, Tu uses they, them.
No, I totally get it actually. When I like being something, it's because I got to decide it for myself. Like my periwinkality and my girlness.
In June 2024, J&J posted this doodle of tennis ball with the rainbow flag colors. Nobody really knows if this was mainly a lighthearted non-canon doodle, or if tennis ball is actually queer. It's a cute photo though, regardless. I like how casually the characters treat others who use different pronouns, especially characters like Winner and Price Tag who are non-binary. They're voiced by Shazer, I'm sorry, also known as Humming Moth, and Waffleottle, both of whom share the same identity as their characters. It's always great to see shows hiring actors whose gender identities match those of the characters they play. In season 1 of II back in 2011, Paintbrush's gender was a running gag.
Paintbrush doesn't deserve this. He's great. Don't you mean she's great? I don't know. Paintbrush, what are you anyway?
Are you serious? I'm obviously a...
Besides questions from the characters about whether or not they were a boy or a girl, in a now-deleted clip, Mifune calls Paintbrush an
unknown gender freak.
In 2018, Season 2, Episode 12, Paintbrush subtly comes out to Lightbulb and the audience by implying that they're C, none of the above.
I got you, guy? Wait, why are you doing that weird eyebrow thing? Oh, it's C, isn't it? None of the above.
In 2019, Justin responded to an ask on Tumblr regarding any other canon LGBT characters in II. You may pause to read, but TLDR, Justin says as a creator, his interpretation is one of many. Evidence supports that Paintbrush is non-binary and uses they-them pronouns, but characters like Lightbulb, initially given he-him pronouns, can be seen in various ways, including as a transgender character. This applies to ships in the show as well, like Paige, for example. Art's beauty lies in its varied interpretations shaped by individual experiences. While some seek creators' validation for their views, Justin believes in the freedom of personal interpretation. The show's content speaks for itself and is open to everyone's unique perspective. Enjoy and create based on your interpretations. The art is yours to explore. In 2020, Animation Epic posted this photo celebrating Pride Month. A pretty simple post. One could say that the characters here are implied to be queer, or it's because the characters' core colors form the rainbow flag. Later on in August, we see a non-binary flag by Paintbrush's nightstand in episode 14. In June 2021, Animation Epic retweets Kate Brunch's, the official storyboard artist of II, fan art for Pride Month with multiple characters. Aside from Paintbrush, everyone else is just his personal headcanons. A couple days after, Animation Epic released Pride merch that isn't in their news shop at the moment, unfortunately. A couple characters are featured again, but it may be another case of being color-coded. Around October 2022, Animation Epic hired Jazzy Oliver and Shushies, actual non-binary people to voice Paintbrush and Bot respectively. In February 2023, Brian Koch confirmed in a live stream that Lightbulb is trans.
Yeah, I mean, sort of as everyone has noticed, I mean, Lightbulb, different pronouns initially. It was initially, stated to be like a boy earlier in the series, and then has been a girl ever since pretty early on into the show. And I think the reasoning for that, and you would have to ask Adam for this specifically, but from what I understand it was just it was sort of this thing of like realizing, oh, let's try to make it a little bit more gender balanced at that point in time between the boys and girls, at least, because those were who we had at the time. And so that's sort of what the initial conceit was behind that. But I mean, clearly, look, I mean, what can we do? Like, in the show, textually speaking, this was a character that was referred to as he and then was she. So I mean, like, what do you think, right? Like, I mean, what do you think? I mean, like, I think we would have to do something to overwrite that in order to say that it's anything other than, sort of this trans representation. So I think, while that was not necessarily something that was the intent of, the young children that were bringing the show to life at that point in time, it was, that's just sort of, where it's at. And I mean, by all means, embrace that. The fan, you don't have to hear me tell you to embrace it. You already have. Everyone already has. So.
In May 2023, Justin confirms that Balloon is arospec, meaning in the aromantic spectrum.
I don't really get how they do either.
Sure you do. I've seen the ship arts, you champeroo.
Cool. I think the idea of romance and finding someone special sounds really nice, but also might not be for everyone. It happens when it happens for some, and for others, they might find it's not their thing.
For another TLDR, Justin prefers to let the videos speak for themselves, as he believes representation should be shown, not just stated. He avoids confirming character or story details on Tumblr without them being explored in the show, as he feels these things need to be earned and done right. Regarding Balloon, he hesitated to clarify their aro status since few characters have confirmed romantic implications, like Salt. However, he decided that it was meaningful and fun to share since it was intentionally included in the video. Later on in June, Cake Brunch posts art of the II characters celebrating Pride, this time with the addition of the other Season 2 and Season 3 characters. You could also subtly see in the background characters like Fan, Test Tube, Candle, Mike, and Clover. Ever since Jazzy joined the crew, they've been very vocal in their support of Lightbrush despite it not exactly being canon.
Hello and welcome to a special portion where I interviewed Jazzy. Hello, say hi, Jazzy.
Glad to be here.
First up, I guess we can start by telling me about yourself.
I'm Jasmine Rose Oliver, better known professionally by Jazzy Oliver. I'm a trans femme non-binary voice actress who has done work in multiple games, indie animations, and so forth. But obviously, if we're talking object show stuff, I am most well known for voicing Paintbrush, starting in Season 3 of Inanimate Insanity.
Yay!
I guess I express my gender personally, like, I dress a bit more feminine. While I don't, like, identify 100% within the binary definition of feminine, I do dress more feminine. I typically try to be a little, like, I try very much to be more femme-presenting, if that makes sense, but at the same time, I always just try to mix it up a bit. Like, my typical attire when going out is like a women's sleeveless, like a women's tank top and jeans, so I'm not exactly the most colorful when it comes to expressing gender, obviously.
So, next, since you're the voice of Paintbrush, who's also non-binary, how do you see it handled in the show?
So, I did a bunch of watch streams not too long ago, and I noticed early on in early episodes of II, Paintbrush's gender was often the subject of a joke. The joke was, oh, no one knows if this character is male or female. And obviously, from a more contemporary standpoint, a more modern standpoint, there's a lot about that joke that does not age particularly well. And I think it was a very, like, bold and, dare I say, important move to have that moment in Season 2 that kind of hints that Paintbrush's gender is neither male or female. It's to paraphrase the episode directly, it's an option C. And then in season 3, kind of confirm that yes, this character is non-binary. And I think that means a lot. And I think there is an importance to that. I think there is an importance to folks within this fandom, folks who watch this show, seeing them, like being able to see themselves in a character like Painty, being able to see a non-binary individual getting to not only being rather out and proud about it, but generally respected like among their peers. Because even among people that Painty is on like the worst terms with, they never go so far as to misgender them, which I think is important because I feel we often see respecting someone's gender identity as like conditional to liking them, which is an absolutely garbage and toxic mindset. So it's nice where even if a character generally dislikes Paintbrush within the show, they are still respectful of who they are.
Well, do you think Paintbrush is good representation?
I think so, yeah. Like I said, it's like they're like, especially since it's rare that we get queer characters in animation that outright say their identity. Like you'll have characters in animated shows that will express it, but the term is never really used, if that makes sense. Like you might have something like She-Ra, which clearly has characters who are queer, and then you have a character like Double Trouble who is referred to by they them pronouns, but there's never terms used like lesbian, bisexual, or non-binary. So I do, and because Paintbrush is such a well-layered character, I think that, and with their own problems and far from a perfect person, just a person, like I think that alone makes them very solid representation.
Why do you think it's important for media to feature queer characters?
Speaking as someone who grew up primarily in the early 2000s, like there was never really representation, especially within animation, unless it was adult animation, and even then it was usually for the sake of a joke. Like maybe you'd have an incidental gay character in something like Simpsons or Family Guy, but they were generally there as a stereotype and a punchline. It wasn't until around, I want to say probably Korra, where even though it wasn't great in terms of the overall representation, it was just a shot at the end, it still like got a ball rolling at the very least. And while I don't necessarily think shows that came after it necessarily owe their representation to Korra, especially since at the end of the day these are still like a lot of these are passion projects of queer creators at the end of the day. I do think like, you know, they were able to get started, and I think it's nice that someone who like is kind of questioning that aspect of themselves and maybe thinks that they are of queer identity, like, oh, maybe I'm gay, maybe I'm lesbian, maybe I'm bisexual, maybe I'm trans, whatever, any of that. I think it's important for them to be able to see, for people at a young age to be able to see shows where these characters are who they are, and ultimately this does not devalue them as people. Ultimately they are like, you'll have a character like, say, Owl House's Amity Blight, who has her own struggles, her own flaws, and everything she needs to overcome, and she happens to like girls, so.
So, what improvements, if any, would you suggest for the representation of queer characters in the show Inanimate Insanity?
Good question, actually. I'd say, if anything, like, you have some characters whose queer identity is confirmed outside of episodes and live streams and stuff. This isn't necessarily an improvement per se, just something that'd be cool to see. I'd love to see like more confirmation moments like Paintbrush got, or even Bot to some extent, where they actually get to come out. And I'm not saying necessarily every queer narrative needs to be a coming out story. It doesn't, but it would be nice just to hear some vocal acknowledgement. But at the end of the day, it is just nice we do get these characters being who they are and living their best life, so.
Congrats, we've reached the end of the interview. Yay! Do you want to shout out anything first?
Shout out to all my lovely cast and crew members on II, as well as shouting out my partner, Jordy. Love you, Jordy.
Yeah.
You're the best.
I asked my Aero Ace friends their thoughts on Balloon and Balloon ships since I mentioned earlier that he's Aerospec, and they say it doesn't invalidate his identity, and I agree. Just because he's Aerospec doesn't mean he's incapable of love, and people can still form deep emotional bonds. After all, he's only confirmed to be on the aromantic spectrum, so as long as people acknowledge and respect that about him, I think ships with Balloon are neat. So far, the only other rep in II we have are Paintbrush and Bot. Personally, I like the Bot's arc. I like the trope of someone's clone learning to be their own person, and I feel like it was written pretty well, if you ignore the fact that Vanity has to build a replica of someone they barely even knew, except for that one time when they crossed paths in Purgatory Mansion and immediately ran away/died. Bot coming out about their identity is such a great scene. Lore and ethics aside, Bot is a cool character. I'm also impressed how well developed Paintbrush is in the series. Their flaws make them more relatable to viewers, and I know there are many non-binary people that look up to them. The II crew has definitely come a long way from how they treated Paintbrush's gender in the beginning. Just because they were mostly in the past doesn't mean it's irrelevant. They definitely reconciled for it nowadays, but it is important to remember that queer representation was seen completely differently a year ago. Salt being the only character to fancy someone means that romance exists in the show, meaning that personally I think it would be nice to also imply other relationships, especially queer ones. I know II isn't romance focused, but it would be cute to tease it once or twice. I'll let this clip from Season 2, Episode 7 explain in 2 times speed.
Me and Boomer are gay, Gumbo Machine dated Poison, Feather Moon Storming Diary had a love triangle, there's a reason RK writes fanfictions, Clay's non-binary, Shepherd likes girls but is asexual, Two Walls aromantic asexual, Smarty likes boys and girls, Mango's gay, Meow's demi-romantic, and Moonstorm's the gayest one here. Oh my god, well at least that's straight, right? Yeah, but he's FDM transgender.
Next, I'll summarize the context behind this video and how it was originally lost media. Early EE wasn't well received by the OSC, so Webbs, who was 14 at the time, made this whole scene out of spite. When the episode dropped, people mass disliked it so much, he took it down and re-uploaded the episode without the clip. It wasn't until late 2022 that he could get the clip back to its highest quality. If you're still watching, I trust that you've already seen enough EE content to know that it's popular for its vocal support of the queer community, especially from Webbs and its fanbase. And if you know me, I was the one who made the in-depth EE recap. With that being said, I still have some criticism regarding how the show is written, but for this video, I'll try to quickly go over how it showcases queer relationships. Also, obviously, I won't know if stuff changes in the future as I'm writing this. Boomer and Chalky are shown to be very close, occasionally holding hands, calling each other babe, and even kissing twice on screen, 3 times if you count the cheek kiss Boomer gave in that one short. This portrayal would have been alright if it didn't feel like the bare minimum. Don't get me wrong, I like Chalky and Boomer as individuals, and I totally see myself in Chalky with the way that he acts. However, since Boomer is presented as the tall, muscular, jock-like character while Chalky is the shorter, more sensitive guy, it feels like a plain heteronormative display of a gay relationship from a broader perspective. Meanwhile, another pair I have thoughts on is Moonstone and Diary. I've talked to other people about this, and they agree that this pair seems a bit passionless. I can see they're trying to go for a will they, won't they dynamic, but to me it feels very one-sided, especially on Diary's part since she isn't reciprocating any of Moonstone's actions. The only time she does is when she grabs her hand to get a task over with. I like Toxic Yuri, but only if the toxicity is balanced. Most of the time, Diary is annoyed, and Moonstone just lets Diary do whatever. This imbalance makes it really hard to root for them. Then there's Gumbo Machine and Poison, who are supposed to be the exes learning to love each other again. It would have been great to actually see their relationship before they broke up. They brought it up all the way back in Season 2, and had an opportunity to show even a bit of it in the flashback scene in the finale before they all had amnesia, but we didn't get any of that. What I do appreciate is that we do see bits of progress between the two of them that are better handled than the other 2 pairings in my opinion. I understand that there's only been 3 episodes in the 3rd season, and the story may progress over time. Canon queer representation in object shows means a lot, especially since it wasn't as accepted back then than compared to today. I hope the relationships will develop more depth and complexity as the series continues. I've only seen a bit of 5 Sauce and Burner, but I wanted to include the rest of the SACRIVERSE and make sure all of this info is right and accurate. So I want to give a huge shout out to my good friend for helping me with most of this segment. Bull and Crayon are a confirmed sapphic couple. Bull is bisexual and Crayon is a lesbian. They don't share any obvious romantic moments in the show, but throughout OBS 6 and 7, you can tell they become closer to each other and are rarely seen separated. Cracker and Hass are bisexual. Pill Bottle and Oreo are transgender men. Oreo and Cole are Aero Ace. Parallelogram is pansexual, Question Mark and Palm Tree are non-binary, and OBJ is gender fluid. The Money Man and Banana are a confirmed gay couple. They're canonically married. Both of them are gay. Throughout 5 Sauce, mainly 5 Sauce 3, Banana constantly talks about how he does kind deeds for the Money Man as his butler. They never leave each other's side and work together throughout both 5 Sauce 3 and Bean's show, where Banana helps carry out the Money Man's wishes. They're portrayed to be very fond of each other and rely on one another. Telly and Paint Roller are a confirmed lesbian couple. Both of them are lesbians. Paint Roller and Telly have never been separated, and they are very physically affectionate. Paint Roller and Telly often hold hands or lean on each other, both in a romantic way. And because of Paint Roller's physical disability, Telly often sticks up for her girlfriend and is shown to be extremely caring towards her. Matches is bisexual, Flash is a lesbian, Potion and Firework are transgender men, Telly is a transgender woman, Birthday Cake is non-binary, and Vitamin C and Telephone are agender. Kit and Spray Paint are a confirmed sapphic couple. Kit is a lesbian, and Spray Paint is bisexual. They've been canon in the show since between episodes 2 and 3 of Burner. However, they were planned to be canon since the beginning of the show. They're consistently hinted towards in the show itself. Throughout the whole show, Kit is very close to Spray Paint and flirts a lot with her, and usually always tries to be around her, or looks at her more than the other characters. Kit gets disappointed when she can't team up with Spray during the challenge in Burner 1. Daddy Longlegs implies Kit and Spray Paint as a possible couple when he finds them in Rumi's room in Burner 2. Kit gets disappointed when Spray Paint gets eliminated in Burner 2 since she wants to be around her. Kit asks Polaroid for him to print out images of her and Spray in Burner 2. Kit and Spray Paint share some kind of romantic moment after Peanut gets eliminated in Burner 3. Kit and Spray Paint match poses in the Burner 4 intro. Spray Paint digs Kit a hole as a romantic gesture in Burner 4. Hangers, Aero Ace, and Eracean tissues are non-binary. Even though this is a joke show, I wanted to at least mention that the Big Glover is gender fluid and Meat is a transgender woman. Besides all the posts and Discord messages confirming other characters' identities, I do appreciate how many canon queer characters are in each of these shows. Despite not showing any obvious romance, I really like how all the relationships are written. Just showing how much these characters care for each other without explicit PDA is enough for me to like these pairs. Patricia uploaded a doodle of these characters with pride flags. It's both cute and simple, as well as a photo with the rest of the characters with their respective flags. Besides that, Patricia uploaded a short comic series centering Water Bottle. This is your warning for topics like homophobia and the use of the F-slur. As much as society has progressed more lately in regards to how it treats the LGBT community, it still faces discrimination. Always educate yourself and stand up against hate. If you yourself have experienced this, just know you're not alone. You may pause to read as this goes on. A comic illustrating homophobia this way is really important because it shows how serious it can be, even in media like an object show. Some people may dismiss it because they're just cartoon objects, may overlook the influence they can have. It can help others understand queer people who face it in their lives, and it lets queer people know that there'll always be people who support them for what they went through. That's why I believe this comic is substantial in LGBTQ representation.
Hey, welcome to the next part of the video. I'm interviewing another person.
It's supposed to be the opposite. I'm keeping that in.
Wait, what?
I'm putting that in. In case you couldn't tell, I'm also interviewing another person, which is Pap. Say hi, Pap.
I'm Patricia.
Tell me about yourself.
Well, I've been working on a little show. It's called Twilight Orchards. So far, we only have 2 episodes, but I do like a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff, like comics and that.
That's so awesome. Next question. How do you identify yourself in the LGBTQ plus community?
I'm cis, but I do not mind any pronouns I get. I do usually go by she, her, but she, they is fine and whatever. I'm pansexual and I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place.
Like a piece of dough. You're like a dough.
Exactly.
You're all malleable.
Ooh, yeah.
Next question. How do you handle queer identities in your show?
Be very modest with it. Like, in the original script of the first episode of Twilight Orchards, it's a lot more in your face about it. Fern straight up says he is pansexual, but after talking with some friends, I just decided to get rid of that and just like, yeah, he's a lot more modest with it. A lot of the characters don't really talk about it a lot, but that's just the way it is. You don't always have to talk about it. But honestly, that's okay too, because it's just different for everyone. Basically, we have Fern, who is gender non-conforming male. And he's got little lashes, and nothing wrong with that. They're pretty cool. A lot of the characters are really gender non-conforming, and I think that's pretty cool. I think people should just use that more often, especially with, like, how they design characters, but that's more of just an artist thing and not, like, a gender identity thing.
Do you think your show has good representation?
I think it shares an equal amount. Because it's not going to shy away from, like, the bad side of representation. Like, I do talk about homophobia in, like, some of the comics I've shown, and, like, there is Water Bottle, who is very obviously internalized homophobic. And, like, if you read the comics, it does go deeper into that and why he's like that. And I think that is, like, something that needs to be said, not just, like, oh my god, it's water bottles, they're hitting each other, that's so kooky. Objects performing child abuse and acting homophobic? Weird! But, like, it's not just for shock factor, it's just more of, like, you know, it happens. Sadly, it does, but it doesn't mean you have to be alone about it. At least it's being talked about, not just, like, swept under the rug.
Do you want to share more, or do you want to go to the next question?
Oh, there is more representation. It's not going to be handled in a bit, but Geode, one of the characters, he is bi-curious, and I do want to delve into that a bit more, because there is a reason why he's bi-curious and not just fully bisexual. Basically, he's repulsed by the fact, but it's more of, like, trauma in a way, but it will delve into it, and he learns to open up a bit more. And I think that's okay, too, because, yeah. There is one more thing I want to add. It's not exactly, like, that big of a deal, but I do want to try and introduce queer platonic friends, specifically with Fern and Cattail, since people have noticed that they're rather intimate with each other, like, they're always hugging and that, but I feel like that would be a nice inclusion, because, you know, come on, they're pretty cool. Queer platonic pals. They should be noticed.
We love that. We love that for you. We love it.
We do. We do love our queer platonic pals.
Yes.
Next question.
Yes. Why do you think it's important for media to feature queer characters?
Because they are there. They're everywhere, and, like, you can't just always ignore it. I know that everyone goes on about how saying, there's too much queer characters, and, like, no, there isn't. There's never enough. They're there, and, like, they're happy to be there. They deserve to be represented, too. Everyone does. Especially in object shows. Like, recently now, like, everyone is being more open about it, and thank God for that. It used to be, like, so quiet in 2016, but to be fair, it was mostly just kids making these shows. But slowly over time, kids are realizing, oh wow, queer people are real. Who would have thought? And that's pretty cool. And, like, that's not a bad thing, because, like, it's not hurting anyone. Queer people are real, and if they see that it's a safe thing, then yeah.
Last question, Pap. Since you're a writer, how do you think other shows should write their queer representation?
Really just be humble about it. You don't always have to say, like, they're gay, but you don't always have to hide it, too. It's okay to be open. It doesn't always have to just be the one thing about them, because, like, the whole point of queer people is, like, it is just a sexuality, and you gotta still show that personality for the characters. I think it's great, and people are trying their best nowadays, and I feel like this video is really gonna help.
That's so awesome. Do you want to wrap it up? You want to shout out anybody?
Oh yeah. A shout out to my cat, Tiger. He's a good boy.
That's so awesome.
And the best object show character known to man. This fucked up burger of mac and cheese.
No.
Okay.
Alright.
I think that's good.
Alright, say bye.
That's so good.
Bye.
Bye bye.
another show created by Soapy, aka Fiber Briber, who was kind enough to make a concise list of all the canon queer identities and moments of her characters for me. For sexualities, Lemmy, Matchbox, and Soda are bisexual, Melon and Ring Pop are gay, Egg Timer, Perfume, Beat, and Carrot are lesbian, Lipstick is a she/her gay man, and Diamond is pan. As for genders, Lipstick is a GNC trans man, Diamond is a trans woman, Egg Timer is non-binary, and there are multiple characters that use neopronouns like Melon, Candy Heart, Spork, Cake, Coffee, Carrot, and Brussels Sprout. As for list of queer moments, in episode 2, Beat and Carrot share possibly the first selfie kiss in object show history. Soapy gave me permission to share that in the upcoming episode 5, it'll be shown that Diamond is trans through showing her pre-transition. Other ships are implied like Candy Heart x Soda, Perfume x Egg Timer, and Melon x Lemmy. I really like how many of the characters are outwardly queer in this show. The only critique I have of it really is how Beat comes across as somewhat one-dimensional. Introducing some vulnerabilities or redeeming qualities might help in making her more relatable and nuanced. But that's just more of a general writing thing, and besides, there's only been 4 episodes and I have no problems with her being an evil lesbian. Now here are other shows that have queer rep, but I don't have that much to say as the earlier entries, but I still want to mention anyway. In a Tumblr post, Yellow Angiro confirms the sexualities of Ace, Bronze, and Pan, plus Gamebot being a he's a non-binary. An honorable mention is Ukulele and Bubble Wrap. Although they may just be friends, a lot of fans would interpret their friendship as something more sapphic-coded given how much time they spend together. Canon or not, I look forward to any representation displayed in the future. In June 2018, Object Terror was the first object show to display a gay kiss on screen. It's a bit disadvantageous that it took nearly a decade in the OSC for a canon gay relationship, and also to have it come from Object Terror of all shows. Not only that, it isn't shown exactly in a appropriate light. From what I heard, the scene could have been a lot worse, which makes this scene more infamous and taken more as a joke. GPS canonically uses he/they pronouns and was dating Top Hat. Sketchpad is also confirmed asexual. It's definitely cute, and I'm looking forward to them being seen as an actual couple in the show. In Level Up and all of its previous iterations, there's a character called Pridey who's, as you can tell, a gay pride flag. Honestly, if you want an openly gay contestant in a competition show, watch the new Total Drama Island reboot instead. Bowie is much more entertaining to watch than this character here. Since I heard Level Up is cancelled and a new show is coming, I hope the creator took some notes and just made him less boring at least. The only canon queer character in Bodo is Pizza. There may not be any real footage to back it up, but there is a non-canon short before Bodo 13 released where Pizza shows interest in men. Computer is canon bi as he's shown to not mind getting kisses from guys, and was shown to possibly have a love interest towards his best friend Skull. Additionally, Fusion posted this photo for Valentine's Day 2024 along with another gay couple, Fire Alarm and Scat. As for gender, I can't find posts confirming them, but the Tiny Tacos Ida is a demigirl, while Tin and Cos are demi-boys. Besides Animatic being canonically agender, practically every other character in this show is someone else's recommendation, meaning several people submitted characters with funky genders like non-binary, gender fluid, etc. And some even reveal their sexual orientations, Printer being a canon trans lesbian. Wakalo posted this photo of the characters in Object Lockout with their flags and all of them being asexual, as well as other posts the paint palette confirming she's a lesbian. I got to ask Maluz, aka Sam, if there's any canon queer characters in his show, so he made this image. Michael and Sean are gender fluid while Crown is Aero Ace and non-binary. It's small but meaningful and lovely to have gender fluid rep in an object show. Sunslime has confirmed that almost all of the characters are LGBT, the only exception being Bouncy, and he got eliminated first, which is funny. Even though this is a very short show, I really like Hard Milk. They're very cute together, and I can't wait for them to interact more in future episodes.
Yay!
Every character in the first episode has their pronouns displayed on the side, ranging from he, she, they to many others. I think it's really nice that it normalizes neopronouns in the show, which I found very sweet. It's amazing how there's so many queer characters in this show alone, especially in this thread from the official account back in 2021 that talks about pronouns. Whew, now that I've talked about almost every object show I know with LGBT rep, let's see how they all stack up. A lot of the time, characters' identities are shown casually on screen or through social media posts. When someone uses different or multiple pronouns, the cast just rolls with it, which is awesome because it shows they're more than just their gender. I love how each character is diverse and unique in their own way, and it's great to see most shows normalizing these queer characters. As visual aid, I made this tier list of my overall comparison of the shows and how they did. SACRIVERSE being on the top because, as I said earlier, I appreciate that despite there not being any visual romance, you can still tell that the canon couples in her shows truly care for each other. Next in A tier are Orb, Twilight Orchards, Object Wonderfulness, TBO, and Inanimate Insanity. These shows excel in how they normalize queer identities. Even though Paintbrush's identity was initially made fun of,
You unknown gender freak.
and Water Bottle from Twilight Orchards deals with a homophobic father, it's crucial to depict these unfortunate realities of being queer. These moments highlight both the progress and the challenges faced in the LGBT community. Now in B tier are BFDI, Bodo, and TNM. These shows were already pretty good when it comes to representation, and I know that they can do more in the future, so I'm definitely looking forward to what comes for them next. In C tier, there are Animatic Battle, TDOS, LOTS, OLO, and PPT2. The rep here is okay, and I know that queer rep isn't entirely their focus, so for them to canonize some identities is greatly appreciated anyway. In D tier is Excellent Entities. Not saying that it's bad, I just personally think that there's room for improvement. And finally, in E is Level Up and Object Terror. One is boring, while the other is Object Terrors, which is obvious. To summarize, Object shows for the most part have great rep of the queer community and is mainly accepting of its LGBTQ fans. I say mainly because there are always the bad apples who will try to spread their hate towards it. If you do run into these people, educate them if they're willing to listen, otherwise ignore them. There's better things to worry about more than those who refuse to change. Personally, as all these shows are great, there's always potential for growth when it comes to its representation. I especially look forward to Object shows having more queer relationships in the future. And that's the end of the video. As always, share your thoughts below. I'd love to read them and have a civil discussion about it in the comments. Like if you enjoyed this goddamn long video. This took a lot of effort to make, so I hope you subscribe as well as watch my other videos if you haven't already. Thank you again for watching, and anyway, bye!